Y'all, does your junk make you feel cozy? Listen, I love my junk. I feel cozy in my studio. I love junk. I love thrifting. I was raised on junk. My parents had a thrift store. They raised 4 children. We would flea market on the weekends. I did that my younger years. I would sell stuff. And comment down below and let me know, does your junk make you feel cozy? I want to know. And I love to thrift, and I love to bring my items home, and I love to remake them while they're sitting here in my studio. I just sit here in my studio with my junk and I feel cozy. So welcome to my channel, The Cozy Junk Studio. My name is Sharon. Let's get started on these spring projects I've got for y'all. So we're going to be making these spring thrift flips for a boutique that I am going to be consigning some of my items to. I'm super excited about that. That was one of the things I wanted to share with you all. I'm not necessarily renting a booth, but I'm going to be doing just some consignments to a cute little boutique. Now, we're using a few blocks that I just painted with some Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster. And I'm using this little stencil that I got off of Amazon. I'll have that link in the description section below. And I just dried that with my little dry tool and I sanded it a little bit. Now this B is from the Brocante IOD Iron Orchid Design Transfer Pack. I am using one of my tools to get it off of there, and then I'm going to burnish that, the back side of that piece from the transfer. I am going to go ahead and sand because I do like to give it a little bit of a distress and show some of that paint coming through. And I do end up giving both sides the same treatment with different bees, and then 2 coats of the DIY liquid patina from Debbie's Design Diary. Now this next block, we are going to do a similar process, except we're going to use these Dragonflies from the IOD Entomology, etc. Decor transfer set. And the color of paint on this is Thicket by Folk Art as well. This is one of my favorite folk art colors. Now this next project is going to be 2 pieces of wood that came from the burn scrap pile. My husband gets some wood that comes from a furniture place around here, and sometimes they have some really cute things, and I will dig through it and pick out some stuff for projects. I am kind of trying to make this look a little used, old, dingy. I took my hammer and put some little dents in it, and I got all the really squared edges off with my sander, hand sander, and then I'm going to put some gray, I think this is called wrought iron or peppercorn by Folk Art. And I'm using that just to put around, not necessarily in a lot of, cover the whole thing, but to show through when I do some sanding on it. And then I'm going to go with the color plaster in Waverly. Alright, so coming up in the video, you're going to see that I did lose some footage. I have finished these pieces, sanded them, and added, I think, wax on them. Added some beads. I used some beads for feet, and I'm just going to fill the holes in of the larger feet with some clay and let that dry. And I go ahead and paint the other feet because what we're doing is getting this prepared for some transfers. I did start using some wood glue, and then I thought better of it and filled the larger part of the holes with some hot glue, and then added the clay on top of that. Now while I'm painting these feet, I'm going to go ahead and touch up any places that I've missed on the bottom of here. And as I get new paint on, I am going to go ahead and wax and sand a little bit just so that these bottoms meet or match the top. Moving forward, I'm trying to glue all of my feet on before I start my projects because, well, if you don't and you have to go back and, you know, make everything match, it's fine. It's not that difficult, but as you can see, when I'm painting to try to cover up where I have gotten glue or, you know, have missed something, then here we are, we've got, you know, paint that needs to be waxed and so on and so forth. So now I have the IOD. I think this is also the entomology, and I had used some off of my pads, so I just cut them up and all stuck them all in a folder. But I'm going to use butterflies on these because, you know, what says more spring than butterflies? And I'm trying to determine where I want these. I end up, that's where they're going, in those corners. So if someone does want to use these as risers, they could set something either to the left or the right and not cover up the butterfly, because I think I end up putting one on the right on the smaller riser. I'm taking a baby wipe and just rubbing a little bit of that wax back off of that butterfly transfer because I got a little bit too much on it. Now these two little pieces are almost done, and aren't they so cute? They are just 2 pieces of scrap wood. They came from a burn pile. I did have some product that I used with them, but the product was very minimal compared to the overall cost. Next up, we have this cute little riser, and I think I paid $3 for this, and I'm going to use this Thicket paint in the Folk Art brand, and you all, this thing turns out so cute. And I really did like the brown sort of distressed thing that was going on there, and I do bring some of that back through, but this muted green, blue, I don't know what you call it, is one of my favorite colors, again, in the Folk Art paint. And as you can see, it sands very easily, bringing back some of those details. I didn't want it to be real rustic, so I'm going to white wax this now, which gives it another beautiful look to it. I'm just going to put quite a bit of white wax over top of this and then wipe some of it back. As you can see, I have that gorgeous little glass jar there that's going to be the topper on this. Now, if you don't have white wax, you can always just dry brush some white paint to get a similar effect that this white wax is giving it. So I have this cute little bead here, or ornament, that I'm going to be using for the top of my little glass jar, and it's this black and white and natural bead set. I'm going to cut the black bow off of there and paint this with plaster, Waverly plaster, and alter it to kind of match my project. So we're going to start out, like I said, with the plaster Waverly chalk paint, and we are going to paint over the beads to cover that black, and then we're going to sand it some and add some Thicket, the same color of paint that is on the base of this project. I do end up gluing this jar to the base with some E6000. I let that set up overnight. It worked perfectly. The only complaint is that my glue turned a little yellow, and I'm pretty sure it's because I didn't seal the top of this project before I put the glue in between the paint and the jar. And I'm going to finish this off by sealing it with some of the DIY liquid patina. I also add a twine bow, which apparently I lost that footage somewhere as well, but you will be able to see in the videos at the end the twine bow that I added as my hanger from the top of the jar. Remember these houses that I thrifted not too long ago in one of my thrift videos? These things became more work than what I thought they were going to be. First of all, reminder to self not to buy something with a lot of windows that you're going to be painting inside of. The red and green paint I was able to seal in with some Mod Podge, so that was one coat. Then I painted them all with, I'm pretty sure, the Waverly plaster. If not, then it was the Waverly white. I had to remove the stickers, and then I used my heat gun to remove the glue and the glitter that someone had put kind of at the tops of these. The next process was, after I did the layer of Mod Podge, the layer of white or plaster paint, I then decided that I was going to paint them some spring colors, and I did that. And I had to be careful when I was also distressing them, because if I distressed too far back, then the red and the green paint came through. So I didn't have any bleed through because I did seal them in the beginning with Mod Podge. We're going to use this IOD Birdsong mold. I'm using the DAS clay from Amazon. I did cornstarch my mold before I started on a couple of these birds, but I remember now that I missed one. I didn't have any problem getting it out. So I am just going to put a mold on each one of these. You'll see I'm using the Titebond glue for the glue to go on these. I'm just going to let these sit and dry overnight before I come back in and paint them a pretty spring color. I didn't record the process for all 3 birds, but they are on here now, and as you can see, I am mixing 2 colors of my Waverly chalk paint. One is the color Agave, and one I think is the color Fern or Moss, to get this more muted pale blue. I didn't measure, I just had a little bit of that Agave, so I just poured some of the moss into it, or it's not moss, it's celery. I'm sorry, celery. I just poured some celery into it until I got the color I want. So here we go again with painting all these windows, which again, I could have sprayed these outside and saved myself some time, but I just combined it convenient to paint inside of my studio. Now I'm painting this a beautiful vintage tea rose from Folk Art Paint, just to kind of give it another one of those beautiful spring colors. Although it seemed like it took forever to finish these 3 houses, I didn't really do much to them other than change the color and add a bird. I don't know. I am distressing them a little bit, but being mindful that I can't go too deep or I will have red and green come back through. Waxing and distressing is 2 of my favorite steps when I'm doing projects. Do you guys like waxing and distressing? Let me know in the comments below. You'll see these 3 pieces put together here in just a second, and they really turned out so pretty. Now this next project is the ducks, the geese, the swans. Still not sure, but we're going to give them a makeover. I'm starting out by filling a hole in the bottom of the smaller duck with this DAS clay from Amazon. I'm going to link everything that I mentioned from Amazon in the description box in this video. Just FYI, I will be linking these with Amazon affiliate links, which means I will get a tiny percentage for promoting these items. It is at no extra cost to you if you click on the links and purchase them. It just gives me something for time that I use to post the links and to help me to produce more videos like this. Now, you are welcome to just go to Amazon and purchase them without going through the links. Like I said, it is no extra cost for you. I just wanted to put that out there. All right, these ducks. This was another project that I caused myself way too much work, but we're not going to go there. I will just let you know that I lost footage again. I'm just going to apologize again for that. I started out with a light coat of the Waverly Elephant chalk paint to give this a base so that when I do what you're seeing now, like I said, I lost video. I ended up painting these with a coat of the Waverly plaster and then sanded back, and now I'm using my Dremel just to hit some spots to make it look like they have nicks of paint out of them. They're chipped a little bit. Once I get the stencil completed, then I can kind of overall look at this and see if I have too many nicks or too much distressing, and I can touch that back up with paint. Don't be afraid to distress and take something like this to your project, because you can always go back in and touch that back up with just a little bit of paint. Next, we're going to use the same stencil that has the striping that you can use for feedstack stripes, or you can use for flower sack stripes, even probably ticking. And I'm using a pale gray paint here. I think this is a folk art gray of some sort. It almost looks like that prairie sage, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I can't be 100%. I did the same thing on both sides, and I'm just taking my sander and sanding a little bit of that striping back to bring some of that paint through and giving it a pretty good distress here. I got this gorgeous set of stencils from Amazon. They're like flower market stencils, great for spring. And I'm using that original paint that I mixed the celery and the agave Waverly together for this muted color. This next one it sits at such a funny angle. The bottom is flat, but the duck or the piece is almost tilted forward. So I had to be real careful when I was putting this stencil on. I ended up using this really pretty green color, and I do apologize because I don't know which green color it was. I do stripe and stencil both sides of the ducks, and I think you'll see that coming up. If not, it will be in the photos at the end. Make sure you don't forget when you have stencils that you can use different parts of them, especially on small pieces that is not going to take a whole stencil. It really comes in handy. Here is the other side of that large duck. I'm just putting this bloom on there. So one side could be more streamlined with just a simpler, just one word. Here is coming up all of the photos that I took of each of the projects that we have worked on here together today. I hope you enjoy these photos. I hope you enjoy these projects. And if you do, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, a like, comment below. All of those things help this channel to grow and for me to be able to bring more content of doing things that I enjoy and I love. And don't forget, tell me, does your junk make you feel cozy? Thank you so much for watching.